Hey everybody, I am so excited that you have decided to join us today. So welcome to the Artistic Box, and we are gonna work on a palette knife picture. We're gonna create our own tropical paradise. So this is the picture we are gonna be making today, okay? And if you've never done palette knife painting before, that is okay. Do not worry. You're gonna use these 3 palette knives, okay? And then your paint, so you'll have raw sienna, yellow, phthalo blue, and white. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take some of your paint and you're gonna pour some of it into your palette, okay? Just like that. Now, once you've done that, we can get started. So, put your paint aside. Okay, so here we have our 3 palette knives. And to start off with the first one, we'll use the thickest one. That'll be used for the ocean, okay? So we're gonna take your canvas right here, and our ocean is gonna be a lot like down here on this side, okay? So you'll take your paint. Now, here's what's kind of odd about palette knife paint. When you scoop up paint on your palette knife, you wanna go backwards. So you'll take your actual palette knife, dip it in the paint, and you'll scrape it backwards, okay? And then you'll get it on the bottom of your palette knife. So now that you have it on the bottom of your palette knife, we are just gonna kind of outline where we want our ocean to be. So we want our ocean to be right here, okay? The rest is gonna be sand over here. So you wanna scrape it. What you'll do is you'll take your palette knife and you're gonna kind of press up and down, side to side. You're really just getting paint on your brush, on your palette knife, and you're scraping paint all over your canvas, okay? We wanna fill in all of this area. Now, if you are like me, you just kind of like to get crazy with art. So this is gonna be your favorite because you can kind of go in circles, you can go side to side, up and down. Palette knife painting is all about creating really cool textures, okay? And it's just kind of easy to create textures, which is gonna be perfect for our wild looking ocean. Okay, so far you should have something that looks a little bit like this, okay? Now, what I would do is I would grab your smaller paint, your smaller palette knife, okay? It's the one that has like the narrow tip. And you're gonna get a little bit of white on the back. Remember, we only wanna use our paint on the back of our palette knife. And we're gonna go in and add some cool texture. So we're gonna add some wild looking waves on the edge, okay? And all I'm doing is I'm taking my palette knife, I'm scraping white paint up on it, and I'm kind of layering. Okay, and it's kind of cool because when you see how wild looking waves, all of a sudden, you're making your own wild picture, okay? It looks like the waves are raging on this beach, okay? So you're gonna add waves. All right, and once you start to do that, your paint starts to mix, and so you get some lighter blue, and we like that. We wanna do different colors, lots of layers, okay? Okay, now we can always come back to it, or we can always add to it, okay? Okay, so far, there's our wild looking ocean. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is you wanna get rid of that blue right now, because we're done with that for a second. So you can get if you have a cup of water, you can rinse it off, and then dry it off on a paper towel, and you really want to make sure you get all of that paint off, okay? So, I have it all off. Now, we are going to create our beach, okay? Where all the sand is. So, I want you to get some raw sienna and some white at the same time on your palette knife, okay? And you're just going to kind of take your little small palette knife, the same one we did with the white waves, and you're gonna go all over here on this side of your water, okay? And they can mix together, that's okay. And you're gonna kind of create white looking, light colored sand, okay? And you wanna go all the way up to the ocean, okay? So keep on getting white and raw sienna, okay? And we are creating our sand, okay? I'm gonna fill it all the way up. Now what's neat about palette knife is you don't have to go in the same direction. You can turn your palette knife upside down, go sideways, okay? In fact, that's kind of the purpose of palette knife painting, is really just to kind of take your knife and kind of smooth the paint around like you normally wouldn't smooth it around with a brush, okay? You're just gonna scrape it on there. Okay, we're just layering paint together, okay? And you want your sand to meet your ocean, okay? You don't want to leave any of that white canvas. Okay, let's see. So we've got all of our sand looking good, okay? We can mix in with our ocean, okay? That's okay. All right, so as everybody's mixing it together, okay. So now that I've mixed kind of that in together, okay, and I've got all my sand, all right. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna wipe this off again. So I'm going to dip it in my cup of water, okay, get it wet, take your paper towel, and then wipe off all that paint. Okay, I hope you're having fun, because this is meant to be enjoyable, relaxing, a little bit wild, okay? Not stressful. Stressful is not the way I want this to be. So now we need our sky, okay? So let's go ahead and take our colors on our palette, and we're gonna mix some blue in the middle, and we're gonna get some yellow, and we're gonna get some white. Okay, and what you do is you just kind of smush it all together, and then see what you come up with. Oh, that looks perfect. Okay, so I kind of wanted like an aqua teal looking color for the sky. So you make that with yellow, blue, and white. Once you have your perfect color and you were just oh so happy with it, then you're gonna come up here and you're gonna paint your sky. Now, if I were you, this is a little bit small for a palette knife to do the whole entire sky. So we can go back and get our big palette knife if you want it. It has some blue on it still. So you're just gonna scrape up your paint, and we're gonna kind of paint our whole entire skyline, okay? And this one is really neat, because this one can cover a lot of area, all right? And it gets it really smooth. And if you can see, I'm flipping it over. I'm even gonna go up and down, okay? So I want you to get all that paint on there, and I want you to cover the entire white area for the sky. Okay, we don't want any white canvas showing. All right, so you really, and look, you can even take your palette knife and squish that paint in there. Okay, squish it, squish it, squish it. All right. See, this is why I love art. You just kind of gotta get in there and experiment with it. You know, you might be a careful painter, and that's okay. I know I am not. I make more of a mess, and I have wild lines and lots of texture, okay? But sometimes your painting reflects your personality. So if you want to take your time, go for it. Make your sky as smooth as you want it to be. Okay, so now I have all of my white canvas covered. Okay, that's really what I wanted. Okay, but you know what? Sometimes it's just boring if it's just plain. So now we want to go back and we want to add some more colors and more texture. So I'm going to get some more white, okay, on my little tiny palette knife. And I'm going to kind of add in some really white clouds. And I'm just going to place my paint to the side a little bit, okay? I'm just adding in white clouds, okay? Okay, you just kind of want to add in some white looking clouds. All right. Okay, so now that you've added in your white clouds, okay, oh, this just makes me wish I was at the beach. But until then, we can just pretend and just have fun, okay? Okay, so now you've added in your white clouds, okay? And we have our ocean, and we have our sand, and now all we need is our trees. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create our palm trees next. And we need to go ahead and rinse off both of our palette knives that we've used so far, okay? So dip them in your water cup, kind of stir them around, and then you want to wipe it off really good, okay? Because this paint will stick on these. Now eventually, if you love palette knife painting, you can go ahead and invest in, you know, some wooden or steel palette knives, okay? Okay, so now you have them rinsed off, and we're gonna take our other one that we haven't even used yet. We're gonna take this one, and this is what we're gonna make our trees with. So you're gonna get some of that raw sienna, that light brown color, okay? Remember, you're scraping it. Now with your lines, it's a little odd because you're trying to make straight lines and you're doing it without a paintbrush, you're doing it with a palette knife, so it's a little different. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna tilt your palette knife sideways, okay? And that's how you're gonna make the lines for your trees. So we want our trees to live over here, okay? They'll be a little bit bigger right here because they're closer. And then way out here, they're gonna be really, really tiny because they're further away. So let's go ahead and make our little thin lines, okay? Now, your palm trees don't have to be exactly straight, okay? They can be a little bit curved, okay? A little bit curved. I'm just trying to do it a few different heights, okay? You never want everything to be the same, you know? That's just not how it is in nature. In nature, you might have a few tall palm trees, you might have a few short ones, some are leaning. I mean, if they live in Florida, they've probably been hit by a few hurricanes, so they might be leaning a lot. Okay, so make your little tiny lines. So as you see, as we get further and further to the right side of the canvas, you're getting further and further away. So you want really tiny lines for these palm trees the further away you get, okay? Okay. Now, what's kind of neat is if you want to make like a dark brown color, all you have to do is take your raw sienna and mix it with some dark blue, and voila, you have dark brown. So if you want to add some of that, go for it. Get some of that dark blue on there, add it to your palm tree, and it turns a dark brown, okay? Okay, so now we have our lines for our palm trees. Now, we want to do our branches of our palm trees, and they fan out, okay? The palm fronds, they like fan out. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this palette knife in the water, because I'm done with it for right now, and I'm gonna get, I guess I do have a favorite. This would be my favorite. The really narrow one that has kind of like a bend to it, that's just my favorite. So we are gonna go ahead and get some yellow and some blue, okay? Yellow and some blue, and we're gonna make green because we need green palm fronds for our palm tree. All right, so get some yellow and some blue, and you wanna make a green color, okay? Okay, so now that you've got your yellow and green, now you're just gonna kind of place the paint going around so it looks almost like a fan, okay? And what's neat, remember, whenever you're using palette knives, it's cool and it looks good to have thick pieces of paint. So don't worry about making it all really thin. You just kind of place your paint around everywhere. Okay, you're building palm trees right now. You're just having fun. All right, I'm kind of turning my palette knife upside down, sideways. Okay, I'm just trying to place it around. All right, and we want it to mix in with that brown, okay? So if it mixes in with that raw sienna color, that's good, okay? Well, that palm tree may have a little bit more than a few prongs. Okay, so now you're gonna do tinier ones. Remember, the further away we get, they have to be smaller. So you want your palm fronds to be a little bit smaller than the big ones on the left-hand side, okay? And then you want your really little ones way over here to be tiny. So you're just gonna gently use your palette knife and gently make your trees. Okay? Now, so far, if you have messed up at least one time today, well, guess what? You are right there with me. There has never been a picture that I do not mess up on at least one time. Usually it's like 10, but we'll see how many times I mess up today. So do not be hard on yourself, okay? Painting is all about having fun and experimenting. Okay, now, kind of step back, say, hey, do you like your palm trees? I do, but you know what? I'm gonna need a little bit of yellow and maybe a little bit of white to make them a little bit brighter. So I'm gonna go on top of them and I'm gonna add a little bit of white and yellow, okay? You know, with palette knife painting, it's cool. You just layer on top of layer and it looks so much more real. So get a little bit more yellow, a little bit of white, and we're just gonna layer on top of our palm trees. Okay, now you can at any time go back and add anything. If you wanna create some flowers, or if you wanna create a shark in the water or a dolphin, you know, this is your picture. You can do whatever you want to it. I thought it'd be kind of neat to take this picture and I don't know if you saw, but you have a little tiny sheet of paper in your box. Okay, and then you had a toothpick. I'm sure you were wondering, why in the world do I have a toothpick and a piece of paper? So I was thinking we could do little tiny beach umbrellas. So if you have a pencil, you can just kind of sketch out a little umbrella. Okay, I've already sketched out mine. You'll just shape it. Then once it's already shaped, you can get some scissors and cut it out. Okay, just like that. And now your umbrella might be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller than mine. I mean, that one sheet of paper could possibly do like 3 or 4 umbrellas if you wanted them to make really little. Okay, so here's your little tiny umbrella top. Here's your toothpick. You're gonna attach it back here. Now, what you could do is if that is too tall for your umbrella, I will just take my toothpick and break it right in half. Oh, and now I can make 2 umbrellas actually. So I'm gonna take my little tiny half toothpick, attach it right there, okay? And then I'm gonna lay it right here in my sand. So let's see, where would be a good spot? Oh, that was good. I'll put it right there on the beach, okay? And this, you will have enough paint that this will probably stick. So if you want, you can just lay your umbrella right there and it'll stay. If yours doesn't stay, you can always use hot glue, okay? Or you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I just like having at least one surprising element to my pictures. Okay, so we are finished with our first palette knife painting. I'm so glad you joined us today. And if you haven't already, go to theartisticbox.com and subscribe to do a monthly box, okay? Because I will see you in a few weeks with our next project. Okay, I hope you had fun.